BrainPop, the website that was one of the single saving graces of public schooling. You know, we had sites like IXL and iReady, which both sucked all around and caused me immense stress and suffering, but in between the suffering, we had a single moment in time where we didn't have to complete meaningless, repetitive lessons. That moment in time was the website BrainPop. BrainPop, unlike IXL and iReady, actually had an enjoyable premise. Instead of completing some repetitive and uninteresting assignments, you're able to just watch educational videos, which actually teach you something. The best part about these videos was that your teacher would play them at the perfect time. BrainPop served as a wedge between education and entertainment, while being both at the same time. It was a literal escape from the worries of the world, and all of your attention immediately focused on the characters and what they were trying to teach you. And what's better is that you actually paid attention to these characters. They weren't just spouting some coded, repetitive script that had no feeling. It was such a refreshing feeling, especially right before a test or right after recess or something. I literally remember breathing sighs of relief when the teacher would put BrainPop on. The videos were engaging, thought-provoking, and above all else really, entertaining. You weren't just staring at a screen filled with an unnecessary amount of information. You were genuinely watching and learning. The videos focused on providing the backbone behind the concepts and not just the concept, which when compared to sites like IXL and iReady, highlights a key difference between the websites. Not just the obvious differences, but the more intricate differences, like user engagement and how the user responds to the program. IXL and iReady fail because of the lack of innovation. There is absolutely nothing that makes IXL or iReady look appealing to the average person. They look like stereotypical learning websites that funnel the exact same information with no end. But BrainPop did it differently. BrainPop tackled the viewer's inner desire: connection. Another thing I want to talk about is that BrainPop had characters that actually had some soul to them. They weren't just poorly animated characters given no thought. These weren't just characters, but the entire face of the website. Unlike iReady, BrainPop didn't cut corners for the sake of efficiency, which is why it's generally remembered more fondly when compared to other learning websites. Prime examples of this are the characters Tim, Moby, and Anna, with Moby arguably being the most recognizable character of the three. There are more characters, but let's be real, no one cares about them. I remember being in class and the teacher would announce that they're putting on BrainPop. Still, to this day, I don't think I've ever felt so excited to watch something educational in school, of all places. I was actually introduced to Anna and Moby before I was introduced to Tim, but despite this being the case, I still found myself connecting with these characters. They were interesting to watch, and the creators clearly enjoyed the process. By the time I got introduced to Tim, I'd already fallen in love with the website and had seen so many videos. Most of these were shown by my teacher, but in some cases I actually went to the website myself. There was no stress, no repetitive assignments, just an experience that you could only describe as fulfilling. These characters had actual emotion and personality, which made it incredibly easy to actually enjoy the learning process. They were relatable. It made the experience something I didn't ever dread. It made learning something that you didn't have to stress about. Who knew having a giant robot help teach you about the water cycle would be so beneficial? By putting emphasis on character design, BrainPop showed up where a site like iReady could never. iReady is all about the stats. It's all about measuring and making the best decisions based on analytics, while BrainPop focused on connecting with the viewers, not just crunching numbers. I don't want to finish this video without talking about the actual activities that BrainPop will provide to students. These activities were neither boring nor uninteresting. We had choices from quizzes to creative things like the draw or write about it options. These options gave students the opportunity to take control over their learning experience and not the other way around. This worked to BrainPop's advantage. By giving a plethora of information retainment options, there was little to no reason for any rage or disinterest. You weren't answering the exact same question over and over and over again, or completing the same diagnostic you took earlier that year. Instead, you were able to basically choose how you learn, which I don't know about y'all, is something that I value a lot. Being force-fed information is probably the laziest way of teaching, especially when it's placed behind the facade of being beneficial. BrainPop was more than likely the highlight of my entire school experience, which is really sad when you think about it. 14 years of school and you're telling me the single most enjoyable thing out of the entire experience was something that I don't even think about anymore? Are we serious? This actually raises another thing I wanted to talk about. As I went further and further into schooling, I saw that less focus was placed on actual learning and instead was placed onto the numbers, which is exactly where sites like IXL and iReady come in. I'd say that websites like these are what made me lose my love for learning at such a young age. If y'all didn't know, I'd actually consider myself somewhat of a scholar. Learning was the only thing that I looked forward to, besides TV and playing outside. It was something that I actually wanted to do. not just a side thought or something I had no interest in. This was something I gave my all and often placed an enormous amount of pressure on myself to perform past the expectations. Placing stress on children with little to no knowledge of how the world works is incredibly dangerous. I know that stress is something that everyone experiences, but to actually believe that these websites teach is outrageous. In a sea of learning websites that didn't benefit me at all, BrainPop shined through like a diamond in the rough. It gave me a sense of connectedness in a space where the only thing that's cared about is the numbers, which only gets worse as school continues, but that's neither here nor there. These sites were fine to refine your skills, and even then, they were iffy. Actually teaching though? Absolutely not. But as kids, we're just told to shut up and do it. No matter if you're crying and showing obvious signs of distress, you're told to just do it. I guess at some point, it became less about the students and more about the image of success, the image of successful students, the illusion of prosperity. Anywho, that's the video, y'all. Again, this was a joy to make. There's too much wrong with these sites to just sit silent and let them front as if they work, when the sad truth is, they don't. Countless nights of completing countless lessons with no end. The only thing keeping you sane was the faint light at the end of the tunnel, and even then, that seemed impossibly far. The students that are going through school now are dealing with these terrible sites, and I can't stand by and just let y'all suffer like that. If I can't change it, the very least I can do is provide a platform for us. Because it's okay to not like something. We don't have to let them lie to us, and I'll advocate for all of us if necessary. That's all I've got for today though. So check back soon for the next video.